First walkthrough, middle of May, right in the middle of May. And I'm going to be planting some of these trees in the ground. So I thought I might want to get some of them on video before I move them about. So here we are, middle of May, and they're doing very nicely. I'm very pleased. I'm letting them grow as I always do. I'm not a big pruner. I'm not big on pruning. I'm big on pruning properly, but I like my trees to produce at the top. I've heard certain videos on YouTube that I disagree with, but everybody has their own methods, and I always like to add for what it's worth, because it's my opinion, and everybody's opinion is valid to them. And so I like to not pinch too much, especially on top, not until they get large enough, the branches get long enough, and I feel that there's probably 5 or 6 leaves. This one has 3, 4, 5. When this develops a little further, then I will pinch it. But you have to be cautious, because this branch could produce many figs. And so I'll have to make that judgment call when it comes. But I like my trees to grow tall. I like them to flourish like they would in nature, or out in a large orchard somewhere, or in nature someplace like Greece or Italy, you know, and somebody says, look, I've got a beautiful fig tree out here and it's full of figs. Nobody jumps up in the tree and pinches it, okay? They just grow. You can watch a lot of my other videos, and I talk about this subject a lot. Again, everybody has their own methods, and they're welcome to them. But you can see these results, and you can look at my previous videos. There's so many of them that I would just love for you to watch. They're there for you. It's for the conveyance of public information. That's why I make the videos, period. And so you can watch those videos, abracadabra figs. Oh, there's so many. Top Gun figs. There's just a whole bunch of titles. In fact, I might just read them off to you in one of the videos I make soon, and suggest that you watch some of those videos. I have over 100 videos now that I put out there to disseminate information, and I just do appreciate when you watch them, and that's all I really ask in return, nothing else. So here we are. I've got quite a few beautiful fig trees that I am so looking forward to the harvest, and I'm going to get plenty of figs, just like in the videos that you can go back and watch that I've already posted. This is Smith, and I have this in several videos, and I also planted it in the ground the last couple of years, and you can see that I'm using my ground bag method, where I cut holes in the ground bag, in the grow bag, and let the roots come out to the surrounding ground, and I let this tree flourish in that manner, and it produces an abundance of delicious figs. And the reason why I do that is because I personally do prefer the taste of in-ground figs to potted figs, although many figs taste really good in pots, but they don't taste as good, in my opinion. Here we go, for what it's worth. They do not taste as good as their in-ground counterparts. Container figs, I like to grow container figs. I like to grow Black Madeira and Italian 258 and even Smith, and a bunch of others, Ronde Bordeaux. Some of those do okay if you use the ground bag method, and you basically let them get an early start in the yard by shuffling them or putting them in the greenhouse if you have one, or something, or close to a home where there's plenty of warmth. It's sort of like a microclimate. Maybe take them in at night, put them back in the garage or wherever you might be storing them. Then, of course, once they get going like these, You can take them out when the weather gets good and there's no further danger of frost, like around the middle of May is a good time. The nights are a little cold still. And just put them in the ground. The way I've shown and demonstrated on other videos. Put them in the ground and the roots will spread out and they'll seek out the nutrients, the natural nutrients in the natural ground, in the soil, and they will just flourish, as you can see in my other videos. So that's what I'm going to do with some of these. And some of these I'm going to up pot my black Madeira, like over here. I'm going to probably up pot this one. It's getting a bit large for that container. It produces an abundance of figs. And I'm not going to be ground bagging that one. So I'm going to probably put it in maybe a 15-gallon pot. Possibly. That's as far as I go. I just don't go any large. That's a personal preference. I don't go any larger than 15 gallons. Grow bags. I like grow bags. Grow bags. I had some questions about root pruning. With grow bags, there's minimal, if any, root pruning. You just don't have to do it, which is wonderful compared to their plastic counterparts. And so last year's main crop figs, drop them off. And with grow bags, it not only saves time in root pruning, but I just think they grow better. I like the way they grow. They get more air into the roots. And also, personally, I just think it's a completely better way to grow container figs. Now, you do have to water more. There's no question about that. There's more watering. But the roots are less susceptible to root rot. It's a little more work that way, but then again, it's less work as far as pruning the roots when you up pot them. So I just wanted to talk about a few things there, get that sort of straight. I'm very excited about the season, and I'm very excited about the eventual harvest here. I'm going to be moving some of these, like this is Malta Black. I'm going to be moving these to the ground, period. And they're just going to go in the ground. They're just beautiful specimens. And I love Malta Black. I highly recommend Malta Black. There's a bunch of figs I recommend. Here's a good one that was a gift from my friend Vito up in New York. And he's had good luck with this. And I'm looking forward to getting that in the ground too. I've got this one I'm going to be putting in the ground, Black Greek Marius. And the Ronde Bordeaux, I have several in the ground already in 2 locations. And so I'm going to keep these in a pot. I'm going to probably up pot them. But you get the idea. Some of the ones that are pretty much winter hardy are going to be planted in the ground permanently. Why? Because I have too many figs and I've been scaling down. Which maybe I'll show you something. Here's another Smith I have. I have a bunch of Smith because I love Smith and I highly recommend Smith. And you can ground bag Smith as I showed you. You can prepare the grow bag and put them in the ground and you're going to get great results. But I haven't experimented enough with this to try or attempt to put it in the ground. I'm in 7A and I've got a property in 7B. But I am bringing this little Smith here that I grew for the purpose. I'm going to bring this one to 7B and I'm going to plant it in ground. So it's going to be an experiment. And I think if I put it in a microclimate close to the house where it gets plenty of sun, summer and winter, I think that I might be able to get by with it. I think I might be able to keep it alive without having to cover it. And that will be my goal in 7B. We'll find out, and I'll make a video next year and keep you apprised. So there's one other thing I wanted to talk to you about. Now here's some peppers and some tomatoes, and I'm going to be putting them in my garden. I started my garden, but it's been very cold at night. So yeah, I have zucchini. Maybe I'll run by there, I don't know. But I do want to show something. Here, let's take this fig tree. This is also a gift from my friend Vito in New York, and it's called Angelo's Dart. It's his brother discovered it, and it's a Mount Etna type, but like many Mount Etna types or hardy Chicago types, there are many slight variations, 60, 70, who knows how many, a lot. And they're given names all over the world, and they've been mixed into the fig community. And the truth of the matter is they're essentially the same fig, but with slight evolutionary differences because of geographic separation and gene pools and things of that nature that make them different over time. And they adapt to the land and to the soil, to where they are for hundreds of years, sometimes separated from where they came from, and all of a sudden you have different characteristics. And then of course there are sports, where someone takes a branch and creates another tree, and it might have different characteristics, and it might be a slightly more winter hardy than another. And it's very interesting. It's a fascinating subject, and I address that subject in several of my videos. But this is something that I hear people asking about, and I've noticed on the internet, on YouTube, that a lot of people are getting their trees sunburned, because they take them out of shelter, and they take them out of the garage or wherever they're keeping them, the cellar or garage or root cellar, etc. And they put them out into the sun, and they maybe try to shade them, but they don't shade them enough, or they don't put them in the sun, in the shade, and they start getting sunburn, and it causes a lot of damage. But you don't need to do that. And this is a method that I use that I want to talk about for a second. Okay? You can try this method. I want you to try it cautiously, because I wouldn't want to be responsible for any damage that might occur to your fig trees. But when you bring your trees out, and let's just say this one just came out, okay? This is what you would do. Look at this big tree. If you have a big tree in your yard, a place where there's shade, okay? You can, and try to look at this, you can put this tree right in the shade. Let's do it. This would be a good position right here. And the reason why I say that is because the morning sun comes up in this direction. And you see that opening there between the branches, the upper branches, and the ground? Well, it's going to get sun on an angle for a short period of time, maybe an hour, and that's all. But it's going to be on an angle. It's not going to be direct and overhead where it can damage the leaves. But it's enough to send a signal to that tree. And it says, basically, okay, it's time to generate and create the compounds that are necessary to protect the leaves from the sun, okay? And it's also those interesting enzymes and compounds that really increase the taste of your figs too, which is a reason why you don't want to keep your fig trees in, say, a greenhouse all the time. Because if you do, they're going to flourish, they're going to grow, and they're going to produce. But the figs are going to be of a different color. They're going to be of a different quality. They're going to taste different. They're going to be, sometimes they're very delicious. There are certain varieties like Rondi Bordeaux that do very, very nicely. Italian 258, even Black Madeira. I mean, they do very nicely, but they taste better if you acclimate them to the sun. And I take mine out. I don't keep mine in the greenhouse. I only keep them in there for certain periods of time during bad weather. I get a lot of windstorms out here. I'm out in the open, and the wind just comes across the farmer's fields and does damage to my trees. So when I know there's going to be a gale, or when there's going to be a lot of bad weather, or when it rains a lot, okay, and I have a harvest, I'll put them back in there. But I like to bring them out and let them acclimate to the sun because of the increased, enhanced flavor, quality, etc., which I just discussed. You can do this. Just put them under a tree, let the sun come up in those little openings, and then the sun comes up high enough, it doesn't take long to, it gets 100% shade after that. And then, let's take another look. Look in the other direction, out towards the farmer's field. And the wind's blowing, I hope you can still hear me. I hope I'm not getting my fingers in the way as I usually do. But anyway, you can see where the branches start way up, and the sun will go down under those branches, and for a short period of time, like perhaps another hour, and it will be on an angle like in the morning, and it will get sun, it will get a signal, the tree will start to generate those compounds and enzymes that protect the leaves from the damaging sun, from the ultraviolet rays, and will eventually enhance the flavor of your figs. And it won't be enough to cause sunburn. So you can try this method out, and you can err on the cautious side, because again, I don't want to be responsible for any damage to your trees, but it is a method that I use all the time. This tree is so old, it's huge, and this is how I do it. Okay, so that's what we're doing here. We're exchanging information. It's an idea. You can take the idea, you can apply the idea. I hope it's successful for you, as it is for me. Use it and apply it with caution. Okay, and I guess I'll just quickly finish off with my garden's only started now. It's so early in the season, but I've put in my Swiss chard, some of it, which I absolutely love. It's so nutritious. I put in my cucumbers, and they're going to climb up that fence. And I put in my tomatoes, my early tomatoes. I'll put late tomatoes in later. And I've also put in some, here's last year's parsley. It's an Italian parsley, and so it grows each year. And then I've put in my zucchini, and here we have some mint. So I've been working the ground. I don't use a rototiller. I'm older and I should, but I don't need to. I guess I'm physically fit enough to do it, and I do it with a shovel. Sometimes my son helps me, and I do it a little at a time. I prefer to dig deep, and I just like toiling in the soil. I just do, I guess. I don't know. A little bit crazy maybe. But here's the beginning of my garden. Of course, every now and then I'll bring you up to speed on its progress. There's figs out there in the yard, and there's figs all over this place. But I won't make this video real long. Oh, well, I could just quickly walk over here. This is one of my fig gardens. Next time I'll do a different tour of the in-ground figs. I just planted some Celeste. These are very special. I'll talk about them again. I've talked about them in previous videos, and they were ready to be transplanted. And I've transplanted a few in different locations. Here's one. Now here's something that's interesting. Here's my experimental fig garden. Here's another Celeste variety that I'll talk to you about at another time. Okay, and here's some different varieties that have proven themselves to be valuable and worthwhile to remain in my collection. And guess what? Let's take a look. Here's one that just didn't. Now this is sort of like an agony of a kind. You know, it torments me to have to extract a tree and it will die. And the reason why, it just didn't have the qualities that I need to have in a fig tree. This one is very vigorous, extremely productive. I'm not going to go into it. Extremely productive, but the figs all split. And it was an experimental fig, and so I won't be growing that one anymore. Here's some others that went to the junk pile, and along with some persimmons prunings. I'm going to do a video shortly if you're a persimmons lover, and I would love for you to become a persimmons lover. Several of my videos are on persimmons. I'm going to be doing a video very shortly on how to tell the difference between a male and a female persimmons tree. And I think that will be of some value, and I'm going to be talking about persimmons soon, because I have, I wish I could almost do it now, but I'll just make a separate video. You can see that these trees are just loaded and loaded with fruit, and they're very large. And I want to talk about some of the varieties that I have again, and I want to show the differences in the flowers, being able to distinguish male from female trees. It's very, very important, if you grow certain varieties, to have a pollinator, a male pollinator close by. Very, very important. And there's a misnomer, there's some misinformation out there, and it's being disseminated too by even a lot of the nurseries, where they claimed that they do not need a pollinator and it's self-pollinating. And sometimes that's kind of right, but most of the time it's not right. If you want more persimmons and better persimmons, you should have a male pollinator. And it's an absolute fact. And they don't promote that idea enough. Okay, so with that, thank you for watching. I'm going to get to work here and then trying to enjoy this lovely, beautiful day, spectacular as it is. Good day.